schedule?
Yes? Okay, we can bring out Mr. Bradley. And then we're ready to bring the jury into the court.
All rise, jury is present.
Okay, please be seated. Cross-examination by the defense.
Good morning, Agent Casey.
Good morning.
Now, you worked for BCSO for how long?
23 years.
23? And all as a crime scene investigator?
During my years there, yes, I have been a crime scene investigator and a late print examiner, and I worked in supervision for a period of time also.
Okay. And as to this particular case, you got involved early on. You were involved in the vehicle being the Bronco being impounded from the ditch and getting it to the impound area?
Yes, I was.
And involved in the search of the vehicle at all?
No, sir, I was not.
Now, you indicated, I believe, you rolled the known prints that you made your exam from, right?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you did your examination when?
I did the chart. The examination had been done, I can't remember the exact date, but the chart was made using those exemplars 2 weeks ago.
Okay. You did the knowns a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yes.
Or maybe 3 weeks.
Yes.
Now, you indicate that FDLE is no longer taking gunshot residue tests. They do still have their biology lab, right?
As to my knowledge, yes, sir.
They examine items for blood or serology, urine samples, right?
Yes, sir.
And the prints that were submitted, photoshopped to convert, did this conversion, right?
Yes, sir.
And between your eyes and magnification, you make conclusions that the prints are a match.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now the tray, this print can't be timed, right?
No, it cannot.
So as to when the print was put there, you can't tell. Only that it's there.
Well, there's variables that come into play on determining time and the factors of how long a print. Can you definitively say how long a print was on an object? No. But if the object was in an enclosed area and was not being handled for a period of time, then you can kind of gauge a time period. Keeping in mind also that we are excreting fluids that will over time degrade. And how long that time is, again, the variables of where the item is stored, how long the item has been stored in that place, how often it gets cleaned come into play. So it's very difficult to put a time frame on how long an impression might or might not remain on an object.
And now, you've been with the Brevard County Sheriff's Department for 23 years, right?
Yes.
And all of the case agent, Don Reynolds, he's with the Sheriff's Department too, right?
Yes, sir.
The other lead investigators, people that conducted the interviews, they're all with the Brevard County Sheriff's Department, right?
Can you give me names? I know we had multiple agencies involved in this case, so I don't know who all did interviews.
Wayne Semick.
Yes, he is with our agency, yes.
Agent Spatafora.
Yes.
Joe Martin.
Yes.
And now, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, they have a fingerprint section also, right?
Yes, they do.
And they also have their own agents.
Yeah, yes, they do.
For instance, in an officer-involved shooting, Florida Department of Law Enforcement comes over and investigates, right?
Commonly, their investigators, their law enforcement investigators in an officer-involved shooting, in the cases that I have worked in the past, FDLE's law enforcement officers will work in conjunction with our law enforcement officers in investigating the case, and our crime scene unit will do the crime scene processing.
So, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, they're law enforcement officers for the state of Florida.
Those persons that you're referring to, yes. The laboratory personnel are not.
Right. Okay. And there's a certain independence of Florida Department of Law Enforcement agents from Brevard County Sheriff's Department, right?
They work for the state of Florida, and they don't work for the Brevard County Sheriff's Office.
Whereas all of the investigators here work for the Brevard County Sheriff.
Those people you referred to, yes, they do.
Thank you.
Okay, redirect by the state.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, ma'am, thank you for your testimony. You're free to step down.
Thank you.
Okay, other witnesses by the state.
State would call Officer Blake Hansa.
What was the last name?
Lanza, L-E-N-Z-A.
Oh, Lanza. Okay. Sir, if you'll come forward, step up before the clerk to be sworn.
You can raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Okay, sir, please be seated in the witness chair. Once seated, if you will, scoot that chair forward. Do adjust that microphone and do talk into the microphone. Okay, Mr. Brown?
Sergeant, would you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Blake Lawrence Lanza. Last name is spelled L-A-N-Z-A.
And Sergeant Lanza, how are you employed?
I'm a supervisor sergeant with the Mountain Police Department.
And how long have you been employed with Melbourne Police Department?
16 years.
And were you on duty March 6, 2012?
Yes, I was.
And were you involved in the ultimate apprehension of a person who became known to you by the name of Brandon Brett?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury, how did you become involved in that apprehension?
We received the radio dispatch call that there was need for assistance for the Sheriff's Department, at which time they gave a general location what was going on. I responded to the area, and I set up a perimeter point, which would have been off of Harlock Road.
And did you ultimately then go to another location?
I did.
And what was your second location you went to?
As the incident was going ahead and moving northbound on Turtle Mound Road, I went ahead and paralleled the pursuit. And when it made a right-hand turn to go actually eastbound on Parkway Drive, I went ahead and, from Harlock Road, went to Parkway, made a right, and went to the incident location.
And when you arrived at the location, what were you able to see?
There was a vehicle in the ditch on the south side of the roadway.
And were you involved in the team that ultimately approached that vehicle?
Yes.
And from what direction did you approach it?
I went to the north side of the property on the south side of the road, and I went ahead and went to the embankment where the subject ultimately came out of the car.
And did you personally do anything to the vehicle?
I threw a gardening stone through the back window.
And would that be the back window that's on basically that back hatch?
That's correct.
And what was the purpose of doing that?
It appeared that the subjects inside were pinned inside, and we were trying to free them out of the vehicle.
And ultimately, did a subject come out?
That's correct, a black man.
What was the first subject to come out?
A black man.
And did you take that person into custody?
I did.
And how did you end up at this point when he comes out? Are you in the ditch area?
I am in the embankment area, and I'm helping him up the embankment.
And once he came up, did you ultimately identify him as Brandon Bradley?
No, I did not.
Okay. Was he ultimately identified as Brandon Bradley?
Yes.
Do you see that person here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point him out, describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
The gentleman with the light-colored shirt, black short hair, and the gray jacket.
Going to let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant. Once you were able to get the defendant out of the embankment area, what then happened?
I placed him in handcuffs. I went ahead and did an exterior pat-down of his clothing to see if there was any type of weapons or anything else, and I got him immediately out of the area.
Did you take him to another patrol car?
That's correct.
And did you walk with him to that patrol car?
I did.
And how was the defendant able to walk?
At that time, I didn't see anything wrong with it.
Was he able to walk on his own?
Yes, sir.
Did he need any assistance?
No, sir.
Did you engage him in any conversation at all?
Aside of asking him how he was and if he needed any type of medical treatment, I don't believe so.
And what did he indicate out of those questions?
What best I can recollect, he declined any medical treatment.
During the time that you had the defendant in custody, were any threats or promises made to him?
No.
Was he mistreated in any manner?
No.
No further questions.
Okay, questions by the defense?
Officer Lanza, when you were talking about the embankment, Bradley here confused, correct? His demeanor confused?
It's hard to say if he was confused, surprised, startled. Due to the situation, it's understandable.
Yeah, that demeanor confused and looking concerned, correct?
Correct.
Was that not?
Okay, redirect.
Yes. Sergeant, how many armed law enforcement officers were there?
At that time, 20 to 30.
And how many guns were probably pointed?
I'm sure everyone.
Would that be a reason why someone might be concerned?
Okay, sustain us to the form of the question.
No further questions.
Recross. Okay, sir, thank you for your testimony. You're free to step down.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, other witnesses on behalf of the state.
Deputy Michael Thomas.
Okay, sir, if you'll step up before the clerk to be sworn.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
And sir, please be seated in the witness chair. And once seated, if you scoot that chair forward, do adjust that microphone, do talk into that microphone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Deputy, could you please state your name, spell your last name,
Deputy Michael Thomas, Thomas.
and how are you employed, Deputy?
I am a sheriff's deputy with the Park County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been so employed?
I've been sworn for 10 years with the Sheriff's Office.
I want to bring your attention back to March 6, 2012. On that date, were you on duty?
Yes, sir.
Did you ultimately come into contact with a person who became identified as Brandon Bradley?
Yes, sir.
You see that person here in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir, I do.
Please point him out, describe an article of clothing that he's wearing.
The gentleman is wearing a gray jacket with a light colored shirt.
You're going to let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
Yes, sir.
What was the, where did you make contact with the defendant?
I made contact with him at Turtle Mound and Parkway.
And what was the purpose of your making contact with him?
He had been detained by Melbourne Police Department, and he was transferred to my vehicle for transport to our investigative unit.
And where did you transport him to?
From the site of his vehicle crash, I transported him to the CID building located on Gusset for the sheriff's office.
And do you recall approximately what time you did that transportation?
No, sir.
Would it be reflected in your report?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you may.
Ask you to review your report to refresh your recollections.
Okay.
And after reviewing your report, do you recall approximately what time you did the transport?
Approximately 24 hours.
And how long, or approximately how long of a drive is it from that location on Parkway to the Sheriff's Department in Gustet?
You're looking at 30 to 40 minutes.
And during that time, and during the entire time you had contact with this defendant, were any threats or promises made to him?
No, sir.
Was he mistreated in any manner?
No, sir.
And when you got him to Gus Hip, did you deliver him into an interview room or anything of that nature?
He was taken to an interview room, yes, sir.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Okay, cross-examination by the defense.
Officer Thomas, the first time you saw Mr. Bradley was when he was in the back of a Melbourne Police patrol car.
Correct.
It would have been Sergeant Lance's patrol car.
I can only assume so, yes, sir.
Okay, and your job was to transport him,
Yes, sir.
right? Not to make an assessment of whether he's under the influence or not,
That is correct.
not to question him.
That's correct.
And you assisted him from that patrol car to your patrol car.
Yes, sir.
And you asked him his name twice, but his responses both times were inaudible.
Correct.
You asked him his social security number, gave an inaudible response.
Yes.
Asked for his date of birth, likewise, he gave an inaudible response.
Yes.
Right. And while you're transporting him, his head dipped down. How long was that, the drive from where you put him in your patrol car to where you delivered him?
The drive is approximately 30 to 40 minutes.
Right. And during that drive, his head dipped down to his chest, chin dipped down to his chest. You asked him if he was okay.
Yes, sir.
And he appeared to be sleeping or drowsy or nodding off or something. Like
Correct.
that. Right. Now you had never seen him before,
That's correct.
right? So you don't know what he's like when he's not under the influence of controlled substances or alcohol compared to when he is.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And you did not observe specifically his eyes.
No, sir.
The recollection to do with that. No further questions?
Okay, redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. Deputy Thomas, when you asked the defendant if he was okay, what, if anything, did he say?
He acknowledged me. He said he was okay.
And when you arrived at the sheriff's station, did you walk with the defendant inside?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any difficulties walking?
None whatsoever.
No further questions.
Okay, recross.
Deputy Thomas, are you a DRE, a drug recognition?
No, sir, I'm not.
You studied the effects of controlled substances or street drugs on human beings.
No, sir.
Can you categorize the effects of controlled substances as to which affect the motor control and which affect the mind without affecting motor control?
No, sir.
Okay, sir, thank you for your testimony. You're free to step down.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brown, as we previously discussed, is this the last witness for the morning?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have some matters that we need to address outside your presence, so we're going to go ahead and let you break for lunch and take longer lunch. You're going to have a 2-hour lunch, and we're going to ask you to be back here at 1 o'clock. During this recess, you must continue to abide by the rules governing your service as a juror. Specifically, do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. Avoid reading newspaper headlines or articles relating to this trial. Avoid seeing or hearing television or radio or internet comments about this case, and do not conduct any independent research. Okay, at this time I'm going to release you for lunch, and ask you to report to the jury assembly room at 1 p.m. Thank you.
All rise.
Okay, please be seated. Now we were going to address the defense's objection with regard to photos. And are we ready to go forward with that at this time? Can you tell me which proposed exhibits we're speaking of?
Judge, we only object to one, it's 3517, that's the number.
3517,
Right, I'll get the,
it looks like it's FU.
very well.
Now, how are we going to display these?
Judge, it's my intention, and I'll read a moment outside the presence of the jury. I'm going to set the TV up in a similar location that I had it for the in-car video.
Okay.
And we've numbered photographs. It will not be in the thumbprint version, it's just going to be a list of photographs, and then my intention is to pull up as we go through the actual photographs that has been admitted. So I'll have the doctor at the stand go through these photographs, identify them, move for them to be admitted, and then I'll be displaying them through the disc onto the TV screen.
Okay. If you had those in order, they're not in order now.
They weren't in order. If anything, I want to call back to order. Judge, our objection, there are two photographs. One is FN, the Nancy, and the photograph.
As you can see in the photograph, it depicts the same wound, FU and an FN. FN actually is a photograph from farther away, and it sort of depicts all the injuries within that area. FU is just a close-up of a particular wound. We'd object that it's duplicative in nature, it's cumulative. Again, it's just another photograph that's going to be displayed in front of the jurors. It's going to appeal to their emotional sensitivities. I think the state can do with FN and not need FU as well, as it again depicts the same exact wound.
Response from the state.
Judge, if I can see, so I need to look at the letters so I know which I'm referring to.
FU is the closer photograph, FN is the further away photograph.
Yes. Judge, the key here is, and FN contains a number of different wounds that I'll be showing close-ups of, or at least asking to, and they're separate wounds from separate shots, some of them. What's important is this is a close-up, and the close-up's needed to show the detail to confirm that it's an entrance wound. And what actually happens, this particular wound, the entrance is here, there's an exit here, and it re-enters here. And that's the key, and there's a difference between this wound, and this wound, and the doctor's going to be able to testify to why these two entrance wounds do not look alike, and why this wound does not look like any other type of entrance wound, because by that point, the bullet is now wobbling, and it's no longer in a perfect spiral, which is why this is a much, for lack of a better term, a much cleaner entrance than an exit or a secondary entrance wound. So the detail is important. We're not showing, not displaying interior throughout any of these photographs, interior shots, as far as slicing the body open, doing those types of shots. I don't think it certainly is relevant. That's the first test the court to look at, and then weighing the prejudicial effect, but it's certainly relevant. It shows the wound. It's an important wound, and we ultimately will be showing the path through the use of needles of what the wound took, or what the bullet took through the body.
Judge, FUs, again, as stated earlier, is redundant. You can get the same testimony from Dr. Kaiser with him being able to compare the entry wound on FN, and he can also then show how it's different from the secondary wound there on FN, as opposed to using both FU and FN.
Okay, I do think FU shows more that it is an entry wound. You can see the depth of the wound, as opposed, you can't really see the depth of the wound in FN. So I'm going to overrule the objection.
Would the court consider taking testimony from the doctor to see if that's his opinion? You can do the same. It's relevance, of course. But the doctor, did you follow that?
I mean, I think he could do it all with FN, but you can definitely see that it's a deep wound with FU that you can't see from FN.
I'm saying the doctor may say, well, I think the pictures put out that you are adequate for you to testify. And that you then will be rejected under 9143. So that's important. I have the state lay that predicate for the court. Reserve rule.
I mean, with all due respect, it's more of a visual thing. I mean, I'm sure he could testify from FN without FU, but FU does show you can see that it's more of an entry wound that you can see from FN. So I'm going to overrule the objection. Okay. All right, is there anything else that we need to address outside the presence of the jury? Okay, the court having heard none, then we'll get everything. If you'll come a little early, the state, or actually could set it up now if you like, you'll set up anything you need for the testimony. I assume we're going to have Dr. Kaiser after lunch at 1 o'clock, or?
Yeah, we'll go with him first, and then Agent Simak will be after him, and my intention is to move for Agent Simak, I'll move the TV back to the position that we had it viewing the chase video.
Okay.
So I'll ask the court for a little break so I can move.
Okay. All right, then we'll be in recess as well until 1 p.m. Okay, thank you.